Chapter 46, Your Wife is Having a Blast. In the evening, Fang Hao noticed that the master didn't go back and was resting at the hospital. He didn't feel it was appropriate to book a hotel room, so he made do with the hospital's resting area. Over the next 2 days, Fang Hao lived in the hospital just like the master, taking care of everything from meals to accommodations. The result was that he and the master produced 2 high-quality research papers. At home, his wife had already returned, and everything seemed normal. Fang Hao knew his wife had returned, but she hadn't called him. Instead, it was Rueli who informed him. No contact from her side, no contact from him, that's the path to becoming strangers. Fang Hao felt a pang of heartache. After all, he had genuinely loved his wife for these 4 years, giving everything he could. Looking at it now, his efforts were deemed worthless by his wife, and her perception of him remained unchanged. Divorce should be a smooth process. Fang Hao felt relieved. After all, he had seen through his wife. He washed his face in the bathroom, only to find tears welling up unconsciously. She doesn't love me, why should I be concerned about her? Although he thought so, tears would still flow involuntarily. International Medical Conference. Fang Hao and his master sat below the stage. The master said, "There will be many speeches in English next. No translation will be provided." "Okay. I'll try to keep up." Fang Hao nodded, thinking, "Master, I can understand it." The master didn't pay attention to Fang Hao but focused on listening. Fang Hao opened his notebook and began taking notes. He gradually realized that foreign experts were ahead of China in research, mainly due to their advanced biochemical methods. China lagged far behind in this area, so catching up was the only option. However, China had an advantage, the 5,000-year history of successful medicine. Traditional Chinese medicine, although considered outdated in some aspects by modern standards, held fascinating experiences. Thinking about the liver disease patient, Fang Hao wondered if there was a better solution, a way to extend his life a bit longer. Listening to the speeches of the participating experts, and engaging in private discussions with them at the end of the meeting, Fang Hao suddenly had an idea. Old Su. After the meeting, just as he was about to discuss it with the master, he saw an attractive middle-aged woman coming over, addressing his master. "Master, Director LV is calling for you." Fang Hao quickly greeted her. She was Director LV from the outpatient department. "Take a stroll for a while. I'll call you when I'm leaving." The master dismissed Fang Hao and walked away with Director LV. Old classmates meeting, could there be sparks of love? Fang Hao suddenly had this absurd idea, feeling that he was thinking too irrationally. His wife's infidelity was her personal problem, a reflection of her low character, and didn't mean others were the same. "Fan Hao, is it you? What are you doing here?" As Fang Hao walked around the venue, witnessing some experts engaged in heated discussions, someone tapped his shoulder from behind. Turning around, he was surprised to see Chen Mei. He wanted to say, "You've mistaken me for someone else," but that obviously wouldn't work. He countered, "Weren't you preparing for the wedding in Jiangdong? You're not a medical student. What are you doing here?" "I'm picking up a foreign relative, she is a medical student." "Oh, Zhang Quan is here too. Let's plan to meet up tonight. I'll introduce you to a beautiful foreign girl. She cares a lot about appearance, and someone as outstanding as you is definitely her type." "Let it go. I don't fit into your circle." Fang Hao declined. "How come? Are you afraid we'll drink again and something might happen?" "Don't worry, Shushu warned me. She said you're her sore spot and asked me not to have any ideas about you. Otherwise, she'll cut ties with me. So, I won't prioritize romance over friendship." "Haha. Damn it, Su-ro, you despicable person. You're fooling around outside while forbidding me from doing the same? Do you think I'm someone you can control? I want to have fun, and I will." "Well, forget it. I'm just a rural guy without the capital for such indulgence. I have a future to build, unlike you, with a good family background and a beautiful face, attracting your lover with just a glance of your legs." Fang Hao calmed down his excitement and smiled, saying, "Xiaoro is right, I belong to her, and I have to be honest." "Haha, I never thought you'd be a henpecked husband. You know it, so keep it down. I have things to do. Goodbye." Fang Hao took the opportunity to leave. Chen Mei caught up and grabbed his arm, saying, "All right, Fang Hao, I was just joking with you earlier. Su didn't warn me, she's too busy now and doesn't have time to bother with us. Your wife is having quite a blast." Fang Hao said, "Chen Mei, I don't know what you're trying to imply." What do you mean by my wife having a blast? It's meaningless. I didn't expect you to trust my wife so much. I love my wife, I won't betray her. If you're suggesting something else, I don't understand. Chen Mei turned and walked away. Fang Hao caught up, blocking her way, and said, if you have something to say, why not make it clear? I'm not in the mood to talk about it now. Unless you accompany me for a drink. Alright, call me when you want to drink, and I'll come find you. Then see you later. Chen Mei walked away triumphantly. Judging by Fang Hao's anxious and nervous appearance just now, she believed she had succeeded in hooking him. Could it be that Chen Mei also knows about my wife's infidelity and who her lover is? Yes, they are best friends, often together. If she pays attention to my wife's actions, she will undoubtedly notice something. Chen Mei is not a docile woman, she must know a woman's mind and understand the thoughts of a woman who is cheating. People tend to flock together. Fang Hao pretended to be nervous just now to show Chen Mei. The world is sinister, he thought Chen Mei wouldn't flirt with him without a reason. With Chen Mei's vision, a man has to be handsome and wealthy to catch her eye. What does he have? Handsome, but from the countryside, a poor guy, silly. What could Chen Mei gain by having him? Taking away her best friend's husband, is that an achievement? Wearing a green hat for her fiancé, is that an achievement? Chen Mei, what are you aiming for? Perhaps, among beautiful women, there is also a competition between them. People's hearts are treacherous. Fang Hao was lost in thought when he saw the master coming over to greet him, and they returned to the hospital together. Fang Hao, there will be a teaching surgery later. If you have the chance to participate, you must show your best skills, even if it's just making an incision. Fang Hao's eyes lit up. If the master said so, there was a high probability that he would be involved in the operation, even if it was just making an incision. He quickly forgot about that despicable person and focused on his own career. Chapter 47, Nauseating Notions of Love. The teaching surgery at Peking Union Medical College Hospital was led by the chief surgeons, showcasing both technical prowess and opportunities for mutual learning. Many present were disciples of renowned experts attending the International Medical Conference. They hailed from prestigious domestic hospitals and top-notch foreign institutions, future leaders in the field of medicine. Feeling somewhat inferior, Fang Hao noticed that many of these experts' disciples were younger than him, with some appearing not even 20 years old. In the preceding surgeries, young doctors from Peking Union Hospital took the lead, followed by the experts' disciples. Fang Hao only got a chance to perform a 3-centimeter suturing operation towards the end, a meager contribution. All in all, it was better than nothing. Fang Hao's horizons were broadened by the experience. No call came from the Provincial People's Hospital for the master and Fang Hao to return, indicating that things were still cooling down there. The induced abortion for the pregnant woman was successful, but she wasn't discharged yet, receiving the best treatment and care inside. As long as the pregnant woman didn't leave the hospital for a day, the incident couldn't be considered closed. It was only after reassuring the pregnant woman that the hospital could investigate Li Xiaoxi's responsibility. During this time, Li Xiaoxi had the opportunity to use her connections for self-preservation, and whether she could keep her position as the head of the obstetrics and gynecology department was a mystery. Fang Hao couldn't get involved in these matters. He cherished the opportunity to learn at Peking Union Hospital. He also mentioned the treatment plan for the cancer patient to the master, who supported him. However, the attending physician refused to modify the treatment plan, leaving Fang Hao frustrated but helpless. Despite this, Fang Hao made some gains. The articles he recently published were quoted more frequently, and the journal even paid him a sum of money, thousands of yuan. The chief editor personally invited him to contribute more articles. Although Fang Hao felt like he was doing a gun-for-hire job, writing these papers, it seemed like a viable path. Fang Hao spotted this opportunity but didn't dare to mention it to the master, fearing a scolding. Ding ding. Chen Mei called, saying, Fang Hao, we're leaving for Jiangdong tomorrow. Tonight is our last night here. Come out for a drink. Fang Hao replied, tell me, what did you mean when you said Suro was having a blast? If you tell me, I'll join you. No, you come out, and I'll tell you then. Tell me now, and I'll decide whether to come. Otherwise, there's no point in discussing it. Figure it out yourself. Chen Mei smugly chuckled and hung up. I said your wife is having a blast, and you're not worried at all? I don't believe it. She waited for quite a while and realized Fang Hao showed no signs of urgency. Annoyed, she called Fang Hao again. Is this how stubborn you are, Fang Hao? Don't you know how to accommodate a girl? Fang Hao responded, to what extent is Su Ro having a blast? You come here, and I'll tell you. Hello? Chen Mei found that Fang Hao had directly hung up. Furious, she muttered curses. You think you're handsome, Fang Hao, but what else do you have? If not for Su Ro, I wouldn't even give you a second glance. You infuriate me. On the grassy ground outside the hospital, Fang Hao lit a cigarette and exhaled a sigh of frustration. Chen Mei, do you think I don't know that Su Ro is a despicable person? You're not the only one who knows that she's having a good time outside. She betrayed me a long time ago. She doesn't love me. And the person she's with now might not be the same jerk who humiliated me 4 years ago. That guy must have some intricate connection with her, definitely not an ordinary person. As Fang Hao calmed down, he analyzed the situation. Back then, Su Ro was pure and beautiful, with a wealthy family background. If that guy was a trashy scumbag, he would have played tricks to conquer Su Ro, who would find it hard to resist and completely succumb. But Su Ro is smart, the financial director of a big corporation. Even at home, she used a different card for chatting, showing how shrewd she is. She couldn't see through the scumbag back then. Could she see through him now? If it was a scumbag, would he be interested in Su Ro's money? Yet, over these years, Su Ro's money remained untouched, saved up for necessary expenses. The scumbag theory doesn't hold. This leads to another extreme. The man Su Ro is involved with is mature, stable, wise, charismatic, possessing strong male charm that captivated Su Ro at that time. Such a man wouldn't be a young guy. Unfortunately, Fang Hao had limited exposure to Su Ro's social circle. He didn't know much about the people Su's family associated with. Su's parents were university professors, implying connections with high-level individuals, including successful people. Su Ro's lover should be among them. For years later, she can still chat with him for an hour, showing how much she likes him. Young girls being attracted to older men, just thinking about it disgusts me. Recalling the times when even the high school flower was infatuated with teachers in their 60s or 70s, Fang Hao found the real world quite messed up. That scumbag must have some anti-aging secrets, otherwise, when he visits our home to meet my wife, even Jia Jia and Tian Tian would see him as an uncle, not a grandfather or uncle. This also indicated that the man had an excellent living and working environment, privileged or free. Speaking of a high-level person, he shouldn't lack women. After playing with Su's wife for so many years, wouldn't he get tired? Or is Su's wife exceptionally good in bed? Maybe there are other relationships keeping them together, not just the physical aspect. Fang Hao increasingly felt that his wife, besides being clever, used the dual card strategy not only to keep him in the dark but also to protect the identity of her lover. Sun Sini. Fang Hao suddenly thought that the only person who met that lover should be Sun Sini. After returning, he should try to build a good relationship with Sun to extract information about who the lover is. Was the middle-aged man he saw at the airport Sun Sini's husband? They spent quite a bit of time in the back seat of the car. Could they be playing some car vibration game? If they were a married couple, it wouldn't be possible. Fang Hao's pupils suddenly contracted. Sun Sini was also having an affair. Among the women around his wife, Chen Mei was trying to seduce him, and now Sun Sini might also be having an affair. His wife was definitely unfaithful. This was truly a case of birds of a feather flocking together. Sun Sini. Fang Hao remembered the enthusiastic conversation he had with her on that day, how she actively approached him. Initially, he thought it was because of his wife's position, as Su Ro was Sun Sini's superior. He took advantage of his wife's influence. But now, thinking about it, Sun Sini poured tea for him several times, revealing her neckline without any shyness. She was deliberately trying to seduce him. The moment I revealed my identity, she must have been certain that my wife was having an affair. So, she wanted to play with me. Should I reciprocate her advances? Chapter 48. What are you pursuing? Jiangdong City. Crack. Su Ro opened the door, returning from the neighbor's house. She bathed the children, then sent them off to bed. After bidding her mother good night, she entered her room. Zhou came in, watching her daughter change clothes, feeling quite satisfied with her perfect body. This was her masterpiece, inheriting all the beauty from her. Zhou sat down, leaning against the bedside, saying, "Xiao Ro, let's talk for a bit." "Sure, Mom, it's been a while since we slept together." Su Ro casually responded, finishing up and getting onto the bed. She turned off the main light, leaving only a small lamp on. She asked, "Mom, what do you want to talk about?" Zhofan said, "I still have some money from my side, plus your dad's spare cash. We'll give it all to you, about 2 million. Mom, why are you giving me money? I don't lack money. I have hundreds of thousands in my account. I don't need you to give me money. Keep it for your retirement." Suro squinted and smiled. Her mother unexpectedly wanted to give her money, but she didn't lack money. "You don't lack money, but why are you working so hard? You went on a business trip a few days ago, and it's been quite a few days. You didn't even call me. When I was around, you didn't call to ask about Fang Hao and the children. Working hard is not wrong, but what are you pursuing? Not for the children, not for Fang Hao, not for this family. What are you pursuing?" Suro was a bit stunned, her pupils constricted, not knowing how to respond. Zhofan continued, "I have some money, and your dad's spare cash. We're giving it all to you, around 2 million. Mom, I'm not lacking money. I have tens of thousands in my bank account. I don't need you to give me money. Keep it for your retirement." "Oh, having a PhD doctor in the family, is the child's health still a problem? Why bother mentioning it when it's unnecessary?" "Xiaoro, Fang Hao asked me, he said if you find someone better outside, you'll divorce him. Tell me, do you think that way?" "Mom, how could I think like that?" Suro's eyes showed a hint of panic. She hurriedly said, "I've been really busy with work these past few days." "Alright, don't give me excuses. Your job doesn't require you to be so busy. There's someone higher up supporting you. It's not your own company, even if it goes bankrupt, it has nothing to do with you. If you really have such strong career ambitions, your aunt took you to Jiangsu and Zhejiang for entrepreneurship a few years ago, but I didn't see you interested. Mom, you don't understand the company's affairs." "Fine, I won't talk about the company. I'll talk about what I've observed. When you came back from your business trip, the first day you said a colleague invited you out, and you went out again. You came back at 10 at night. The child slept at 11. The second day, you said you had overtime, and you came back around 9. The child slept at 10:30. Today, you took the children to play with the neighbors all evening. It's now 11, and the child just fell asleep. When Fang Hao was on a business trip, he worked hard every day until 8 or 9 at night. If he couldn't come back, he would leave the child with the neighbors. Your children, do you really not need to educate them? When your dad and I were young, we didn't dare to educate you like this. Mom, the children are still young. Let them eat well, drink well, and grow up healthy. Oh, we have a PhD doctor in the house. Is the child's health still a problem? Why bother saying these things that don't need worrying about?" "Xiaoro, Fang Hao asked me. He said if you find someone better outside, you'll divorce him. Tell me, do you think that way?" "Mom, how could I think like that?" Suro's eyes showed a hint of panic. She hurriedly said, "I've been really busy with work these past few days. So, I'm giving you money so that you don't have to work. If we talk about these years, Fang Hao's job hasn't progressed much because he's from the countryside, and his starting point was low. You working is to subsidize the family, to raise the children. I don't object to that. But in reality, neither of you is educating the children. What's the point of earning so much money if you don't? Your dad and I educated you from a young age. Don't just focus on money, have quality, have taste. Look at your 2 children, always buried in their phones. Look at your aunt's family. Their child went to Verona to study music at the age of 5. Next year, they will learn something else. I've never seen their children being taken care of by neighbors. Your 2 children are very smart, but they were enlightened late. Think about it seriously." After Zhofan finished speaking, she got off the bed and went back to her room to sleep. Suro took out her phone, thinking about calling Fang Hao. However, after hesitating for a moment, she didn't dial his number. Instead, she muttered to herself, "If I don't call you, won't you call me?" She didn't understand why her mom talked to her about these things tonight. It felt different from her usual style. What happened to her mom recently? Over there, after correcting the last character, Fang Hao sent the thesis to the master next door and said, "Master, I've finished the corrections. Please send it to Professor Phil." Seeing that the master didn't respond, he turned around to find the master asleep in front of the computer. The master was too tired. "Master, why are you working so hard? What are you pursuing?" Fang Hao walked over, draped a coat over the master, and then sent the thesis. An hour later, the master woke up, found the coat on his shoulders, and saw Fang Hao organizing data. It was already 3 a.m. He looked at the thesis Fang Hao sent, replied by email, expressing that it was perfect, and he breathed a sigh of relief. He told Fang Hao to take a break and ended the work for the day. The next day, Fang Hao had breakfast in the hospital cafeteria and saw Director Lu Jing approaching with a tray. He quickly greeted, "Good morning, Director." Lu Jing glanced at the books beside Fang Hao and said, "You don't even spare breakfast time. No need to work so hard." "I'm just pretending. In fact, I can't concentrate on a single word." Fang Hao put away the books. They were materials for his PhD studies, related to exams, and he had no choice but to read them. He asked, "Director Lu, is there something you need?" Lu Jing said, "Without familiar faces here, it's just you. So, let's share a table. My master is also a familiar face. Next time, you can have a meal with him." Fang Hao thought that his master and Lu Jing were college classmates, and their relationship might be good. They could develop a friendship. However, considering his master's good family, with his wife being a government official, he probably wouldn't dare to have an affair. Changing the topic, Lu Jing said, "The treatment plan you proposed for liver disease, your master discussed it with me, and I think it's excellent. Did you come up with it?" Fang Hao hesitated and said, "What's the use? It's someone else's territory, and they don't adopt it. My master told me it's better to mind my own business. If I were the attending physician, I would try that plan. That's not a bad idea. Now, take a look at this case." Lu Jing took out a copied medical record with the name crossed out. Fang Hao understood Lu Jing's intention. He hurriedly said, "Director, in front of you, I wouldn't presume to teach my master. I know my own abilities. How can I not be clear about it in front of you? Don't talk nonsense. Your master said you're a very talented doctor, much better than him. You just lack an opportunity. Fang Hao, after I go back, I'll grant you prescription rights, and I'm considering giving you an opportunity for outpatient service." "Really? Director, don't deceive me?" "Of course. The premise is that you also give me constructive opinions." Lu Jing smiled with narrowed eyes. Chapter 49, Wife Can't Hold Back. Fang Hao was overjoyed. The reason the inpatient department didn't grant prescription rights was because of the pressure from people like the director of the inpatient department. However, the outpatient department had more flexibility, and Director Lu Jing held even more authority. If he could get an opportunity for outpatient services, that would be even better. He suddenly felt that breakfast was no longer appetizing. He pushed it aside and quickly focused on the medical case. The case didn't have a name, but gender and age were provided, along with the treatment process. The name was not important. Patient X was in the advanced stage of liver cancer, very serious. The location of the liver cancer was awkward. In general, with surgery, it was impossible to insert the scalpel. Minimally invasive surgery also couldn't be performed. Based on the information in the case, the patient probably only had about 6 months left. After studying it for more than 10 minutes, Fang Hao said, "This treatment plan, theoretically, can be optimized slightly. There's no need to use imported medications, domestic ones will suffice. If you allow me to personally examine it, preferably using traditional Chinese medicine methods like pulse diagnosis, and comprehensively evaluate it, then I can confidently draw a conclusion." He quickly made some modifications on the case and handed it to Lu Jing. Lu Jing looked at it and nodded, saying, "You're right. Your choice of medication will indeed be more cost-effective, alleviating the economic burden on the patient's family. You are indeed a good doctor. Your master didn't misjudge you. So, is this patient in this hospital?" "No, they're at the Provincial People's Hospital. After going back, I'll take you there. Let you do a pulse diagnosis." "Oh, how do you know traditional Chinese medicine?" "Your master doesn't know it. I self-taught. I come from the countryside, and there was an old Chinese medicine practitioner in the village. When I had nothing to do, I would go to him to learn. Otherwise, I wouldn't have applied for medical school." Fang Hao explained that the Chinese medicine practitioner introduced him to the basics, and he continued self-learning. It had been about 10 years since then, and it contributed to his current achievements. He felt that both traditional Chinese medicine and Western medicine had many merits. The good aspects should be utilized to ensure greater accuracy. Lu Jing nodded and chatted casually for a few moments, finishing breakfast and leaving. In the afternoon, the pregnant woman and her family at the obstetrics department received a substantial amount of money and left the hospital. The doctor-patient relationship was peacefully resolved. Both the master and Fang Hao received calls, informing them that there would be a hospital-wide meeting tomorrow, and it was mandatory for everyone to attend. That night, the master and Fang Hao took a plane back to Jiangdong City. When Fang Hao returned home, it was already 11 p.m., but the two little ones hadn't slept yet. They were waiting for him to come back. He picked up both of them, showered them with affection, and kissed them left and right. His mother-in-law smiled and said, "It seems they prefer daddy." His wife smiled too. Even if she wanted to cuddle both of them, she couldn't carry them on her shoulders like he did. Fang Hao prepared gifts for the little ones. Though not expensive, they were satisfying enough for his mother-in-law. After chatting for a while with his mother-in-law, Fang Hao was encouraged to rest early. He also bought a gift for his wife, a necklace worth 2,000 yuan. After all, they hadn't divorced yet. He praised his wife a bit and put the necklace into the drawer of the dressing table without trying it on. He knew his wife wouldn't like it. He didn't care. It was just a perfunctory gesture, a cheap one at that. Did he expect his wife to fall in love with him because of this small gift? He didn't dare to ask for her love. After taking a shower, Fang Hao came out and found that his wife was already in bed, covering more than half of her body with the quilt. Her graceful figure was mostly hidden. Fang Hao turned off the light and also got into bed, ready to sleep. If this were in the days when he didn't know about his wife's affair, he would definitely have cuddled her warmly, cherishing their reunion like a honeymoon. But now, he had no interest. She didn't speak, and he didn't want to talk either. The atmosphere was quiet and a bit stifling. Sharing the same bed but lacking a topic of conversation, this kind of meaninglessness was too uncomfortable. In the end, his wife stretched her leg over and kicked Fang Hao, saying, "Are you a dead man? Why aren't you taking the initiative?" "Dead man? That's what you make me feel. You go enjoy your time with your lover." Fang Hao still didn't take the initiative. He said, "Indeed, I feel almost like a dead man. I'm so exhausted that I only have half a life left." "You?" His wife sat up, staring at Fang Hao. Her bright eyes conveyed desire, grievances, and a hint of arrogance. She glanced at the position of Fang Hao's little brother, and surprisingly, there was no reaction. She said, "Is it because the girls outside have worn you out? Damn it, do you think I'm like you, having someone outside? You're the one with the red flag at home and colorful flags flying outside." Fang Hao said, "Girls outside? Don't tell me there aren't any. I've been on a business trip for a few days, and with you these days, we haven't done it in almost 10 days. You show no response now. If you don't have someone outside, how can you be so useless?" His wife complained. "Damn, you're the one with someone outside, and you've had someone for a long time, even carrying that person's wild seed. Damn it." Fang Hao said, "I swear, I absolutely don't." "Then prove it." "How do I prove it?" "Get up now, hand over the public grain, hand it over enough. If it's not enough, that means you have someone outside. Then you do it yourself. My business trip is not the same as yours. You go for enjoyment, and I go to work hard. I'm exhausted to death." Fang Hao sighed in his heart, stretched his limbs, presenting an inviting posture. In fact, he hadn't touched a woman in nearly 10 days. At his age, he should be craving it after just one day without. Moreover, his wife was a stunning woman, the #1 beauty in Jiangdong City. However, at this moment, he felt no desire at all. His desire was for his career. Moreover, he considered his wife a despicable woman, someone who gave him a green hat. Such a woman only made him feel disgusted, not desire. Perhaps it was because Fang Hao returned from his business trip, truly exhausted, or perhaps his wife hadn't had any intimacy with Fang Hao for the past 10 days. Fang Hao didn't kiss his wife, he just watched her busy herself. As his wife got into the mood, she showed a unique side, with intense reactions. "Husband, you're amazing. I believe you don't have anyone outside. What about you?" Fang Hao really wanted to ask, but it was pointless because his wife definitely had someone outside. Tired as well, he didn't care about the battlefield, just falling into a deep sleep. The next day, Fang Hao woke up and found his wife wasn't by his side. His waist felt a bit sore. He vaguely remembered his wife climbing up again. But he was too tired and didn't have the initiative. He saw that it was already 7 o'clock, so he quickly got up to wash. When he came out, he saw his wife serving breakfast to the two little ones. His mother-in-law was washing her face and brushing her teeth in the bathroom. Seeing his wife's gentle appearance, Fang Hao felt a bit unpleasant. This woman was truly two-faced. She could perfectly conceal the aspect of having a lover outside and, after being satisfied at home, could also display the appearance of a little woman. Unfortunately, no matter what, I will find out about your lover. I will return the shame he gave me. Fang Hao found an excuse, took the car keys, and went to the garage while his wife hadn't come down yet. He retrieved the bug from his wife's car. Seeing that the bug was still working, he felt relieved. Alone in the car, his wife would definitely call her lover. She wouldn't refrain from mentioning his name. With his wife's intelligence and her lover's social status, catching them red-handed was almost impossible. This required tracking, surveillance, stakeouts, detectives, or counter-surveillance. Fang Hao acknowledged that he didn't have that capability, nor did he have that free time. He wasn't an all-around expert. He hoped this recording would provide useful clues, just to know who his wife's lover was. Then, divorce. Chapter 50, Flies on Stinky Eggs. After sending the children to school, his wife went directly to work, while Fang Hao took his mother-in-law to Jiangdong University as it was on the way to the hospital. His mother-in-law said, "I've talked to Xiao. I'll give you both $1 million. You can discuss who will resign." Resign? Why? To focus on educating the children. Both of you are working and busy. No one is providing early education for the children, which is not right. Xiao's niece is already learning music in Verona. Resign? I won't resign. I'm currently pursuing my PhD while still working. My future is bright, and resigning to become a stay-at-home dad, how will I survive? Besides, we're getting a divorce. Whether or not to educate the children is not a top priority. Fang Hao said, "Xiao and I haven't discussed this. After coming back tonight, we will talk about it." Resigning and educating the children are both significant matters that require careful consideration and planning for the long term. You know it's important. Take it seriously. Oh, don't tell Xiao about my illness. I understand. Fang Hao felt a heavy mood. He had to get the divorce done before his mother-in-law further intervened. Divorce is best done without the knowledge of both parents. Otherwise, the situation will become too complicated, making it impossible to proceed. Once both parents realize the situation, it would be too late, even if they respond. Once he knows who his wife's lover is, presenting the paternity test results would make it difficult for his wife to refuse the divorce. At the hospital, a meeting was called for all doctors. Fang Hao, as a resident doctor and the one who discovered the recent maternity incident, naturally had to attend. At the meeting, the old hospital director briefly mentioned that the hospital would undergo a disciplinary and performance assessment activity soon. She emphasized that everyone should focus on their duties. She didn't openly criticize or praise anyone, but Fang Hao knew that the old hospital director had privately given a serious warning to Li Xiaoxi. However, since Li Xiaoxi had taken on a significant portion of the compensation, she retained her position as the director of the gynecology department. Fang Hao thought Li Xiaoxi would lose her job, but he underestimated her abilities. Of course, he also felt that this might be the old hospital director's expedient measure. She didn't rush to take action against Li Xiaoxi now, but there would be consequences later. This kind of meeting left Fang Hao somewhat absent-minded, especially considering what his master said before entering the venue. His master's clinic had been temporarily cancelled. Fang Hao expected his master to lose his job, but he underestimated Li Xiaoxi's capabilities. His master had caused a scene in the gynecology department, an undisciplined and disorganized act that the hospital had to address. But his master also had areas deserving of rewards, such as the promotion from attending physician to deputy chief physician. However, this deputy chief physician position didn't grant him the opportunity to resume his clinic. His master tried to negotiate, but Fang Hao didn't know the outcome. As for Fang Hao, there were no rewards. Even though he was the first to notice the problem with the pregnant woman, within the next 3 years, all his welfare rewards would be cancelled. He would only have work but no credit. It was really ruthless, making Fang Hao's heart bleed. After the meeting, Lu Jing asked Fang Hao to come to her office. She directly said, "I never expected you to cause such a big incident." Fang Hao smiled bitterly, saying, "I'm just unlucky. It's bad luck, but it's also ability. If you hadn't found the pregnant woman's stillbirth, your master wouldn't have cared. Maybe he would have just prescribed some calcium supplements. That would have made the situation even worse. However, your master is still impulsive. Well, let's not talk about that. Your situation? I find it challenging to arrange. How about you go to the lobby for now? I'll discuss it with your master. When your prescription authority is granted, I'll find a shift for you in the emergency department. Director Liu, can my prescription authority really be approved? The hospital director is busy, it may take some time. She is very strict about granting prescription authority. Otherwise, I can sign for you. Just wait for a while. Okay. Fang Hao was helpless. If it weren't for the strict control over prescription authority by the old hospital director, he could have obtained it 2 years ago. However, because of her strict regulations, Fang Hao's applications had been rejected every time in the past 2 years. The morning work was easy, and with his master not looking for him, Fang Hao had some free time. He sat in his car, analyzing the recorded file. Starting from the day he returned to his hometown, he traced the timeline. That day, his wife got into the car, answered a call from the company, and then went silent. At noon, she drove to refuel. In the evening, she returned home. Nothing unusual happened that day. The following 3 days were also uneventful. Fang Hao felt disappointed, but he rationalized that it was normal. While he was in his hometown, his wife could chat with her lover at home. Why would she need to talk while driving? On the 4th day, his wife lent her car to Sunsini. The frequency of Sunsini's phone calls in the car was noticeably higher than that of his wife, and many of them were affectionate. That evening, Sunsini and a man engaged in intimate activities in the car. Sunsini was quite bold, and the sounds made Fang Hao feel like he was listening to an adult film. But the crucial information came after. The man said, "This car is nice, spacious, more powerful than my BMW X3. Sunsini replied, "Yes, it's powerful. It's our director's private car, well maintained for her enjoyment. However, it's also convenient for her to play around in the car." The man asked, "Your director, surnamed Su? Married, right? Who is she playing with? You said she's married." Sunsini explained, "Yes, her. Don't be fooled by her aloof appearance, she's just like a college student. But it's an act. Do you know? A few days ago, her husband came to the company, handsome and young. If he hadn't introduced himself as her husband, I would have thought he was a college student. But here's the catch, I saw Su-ro being very intimate with another man before. That man is not her husband." The man asked, "Your director also got involved?" "Nice, how intimate?" "We even stayed in a guest house. The guest house has an outdoor pool. Can you imagine how close we are?" The man said, "Do you know who that man is? I'd like to meet him." "Haha." Sunsini replied, "Haha, you also want a taste of Director Su?" The man said, "Of course. She seems cold, but I wonder how wild she is in bed. Tell me more. Who is the man? I may not know everyone in Jiangdong, but I know a few people." Sunsini said, "I only saw him from a distance, didn't see him face to face. But he looked tall, probably older than you. I didn't expect Su-ro to like mature men. She doesn't like her young husband, it's a waste." The man said, "Pay attention and find out who the man is. Let me know, I'll befriend him, and then I can sleep with that woman." Sunsini laughed, "You're disgusting," getting excited talking about Su-ro. The car was filled with heavy breathing once again. Fang Hao was speechless. Was Sunsini a mare? But when she mentioned his name, it surprised him. "This woman, you're cheating, but you imagine the man to be me?" Fang Hao suddenly felt goosebumps all over his body. Continuing the analysis, he listened further and encountered another suffocating revelation.